Hello friends, a great welcome to the channel. Today we are going to cover a famous elegy written by Thomas Gray. This is part of the subject British Literature 18th Century Semester 4, Delhi University. DU Semester 4, Paper 8. This is what we are covering today, British Literature 18th Century. This is a playlist where you can get to listen to the important lectures of this particular subject. This poetry was written in 1750 and was published in 1751, 1751. The inspiration of the poetry is unknown why and after which personality Gray has written this poetry, but there are some reflections about Richard West, another poet who passed away in 1742, served as some of its inspiration. This is a popular notion that Gray wrote this poetry in the memory of Richard West, another contemporary poet. Let us know about Thomas Gray as well. Born in 1716 and died 1771, was an English poet, classical scholar, and professor at Pembroke College, Cambridge, best known for his poem, What We Are Doing Today, Elegy written in a country churchyard, which was published, as I told you, in 1751. This person is known as a great transitional figure in 18th century poetry. He was the one who brought a major change, providing a bridge between poetic sensibility of his own generation, that is almost romanticism, and the romantic revolution of the future. उनके जनरेशन के बीच में और रोमांटिक रेवोल्यूशन के बीच में वो एक ब्रिज की तरह काम कर रहे थे. Before understanding this poetry, we need to understand a genre that is graveyard school of poetry. Graveyard, हिंदी में जिसको हम कब्र कहते हैं. अगर कब्र से रिलेटेड, ग्रेवयार्ड से रिलेटेड कोई पोइट्री है तो ऑफ कोर्स वो याद दिलाएगी कि डेथ इज इनएविटेबल, एंड दैट यूज्ड टू बी द थीम ऑफ ग्रेवयार्ड पोइट्रीज. This moment was a precursor to Romantic Age, and its poetry concentrated on mortality and mourning. Used to give the message death is inevitable. Death को टाला नहीं जा सकता. Life is mortal. Life is temporary. Death is permanent. The graveyard school included poets like Robert Blair, who wrote The Grave, and Edward Young, who penned a blank verse called Night Thoughts. This poem also belongs to the same category and hence expresses grief and sorrow and is melancholic in nature. They often evoke a sense of horror by portraying the physical manifestation of death and emphasize the transient nature of life. So these kind of poetries, what do they generally do? They keep on reminding us, feeding us in our mind, death will occur, death will occur, death will occur, and life is transient. Life has to end one day, and death is the permanent thing that will occur to everyone once. Now let us understand what the title says. Title is Elegy written in a country churchyard. What is an elegy? Elegy is a poem which laments the dead and death. So Gray's elegy written in a country churchyard is noteworthy in that it mourns the death not of any great personality, any famous person, but of common men. आम आदमी किस तरीके से मरते हैं और किस तरीके से उनकी कब्र थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट होती है अमीर लोगों से, रिच लोगों से, पॉपुलर सेलिब्रिटी टाइप लोगों से, but still death is something that brings equality. The speaker of this poem sees a country churchyard at sunset, which impels him to meditate on the nature of human mortality. Everyone has to die one day. As I told you, this poetry was published in 1751. याद रखिए इस year को. These are the first few lines. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd went slowly over the lea. The plowman homeward plods his weary way and leaves the world to darkness and to me. The poem starts with these lines. The poem starts with the narrator standing in a churchyard observing the countryside, and he notices several things, many things that indicate that it is evening, and there is some ringing of some church bell, which in medieval England announced the end of the day. The mooing cows are there, which are moving slowly here and there, and there is a farmer who is exhausted from the hard work of the whole day and is now going home. The toll of the curfew bell is not the usual ring but a knell. Knell. Knell means a term for the bells that ring at funeral. Knells are not the normal bells but the bells that are rung at funerals. The poet obliquely here brings in the central theme of death in the very first stanza. He tells us about कि parting हो रहा है, day खत्म हो रहा है, and I can hear some bells like knell. ऐसा लग रहा है कि someone has died because he is crossing a churchyard at present. And soon the narrator finds himself alone in the idyllic landscape, and darkness is prevailing and darkness is covering the whole sky. The poem is a lament for common man, for average people. It is Gray's finest work, we can say, and the poem combines both emotions and philosophy. The poem simplicity is what gives its beauty. Poem बहुत ही simple language में लिखी गई है. मोन किया गया है कि किस तरीके से कॉमन लोग हैं, शायद उनके लिए इतने डेकोरेटिव मॉन्यूमेंट्स नहीं बनाए जाते हैं, ताजमहल काइंड ऑफ. स्टिल डेथ इज डेथ. डेथ occurs to all the poor, all the riches. ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई रिच पर्सन अपने आप को डेथ से बचा पाएगा. However, the poet's free-flowing poetic phrases reveal the fundamental truth about life and death. And the fundamental truth is, life is temporary, death is permanent. Death को तो lament किया ही जा रहा है. In addition to lamenting the death of a person, the speaker of the elegy reminds the reader that everyone will pass away at some point. All of us, whomsoever is speaking at present, whomsoever is listening to this lecture at present, all of us do have to pass one day. Everyone's life will inevitably end in death, which is a natural occurrence. सबके साथ हो रहा है. We are not special कि सिर्फ हमारे साथ होगा in future. Tomorrow, a stranger will witness the tombstone of someone who passed away today. कल कोई पास अवे हुआ था जिसके विटनेस हम हैं. कल को हम पास अवे होंगे जिसका विटनेस कोई और होगा. He will inquire of a local about the individual buried there out of curiosity. कभी कभी किसी की कब्र देखकर कोई स्ट्रेंजर आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी पूछ लेता है ना किसकी ग्रेवयार्ड है ये. The villager will respond that he was familiar with the individual. तो विलेजर कहेगा कि मैं इस पर्सन को जानता था, who is buried here. He would then say that he had seen him in other places. मैंने उस पर्सन को लाइव देखा है, जीता जागता देखा है. He will occasionally add that he had ceased seeing the men until he seen the tombstone. मैंने उस इंसान को देखना बंद कर दिया जब से मैंने उस इंसान के टूमस्टोन को, उसकी कब्र के पत्थर को देखना शुरू किया. In the poem, Gray the poet himself writes the epitaph of his own. अपना epitaph यानी कि अपने tombstone पर जो भी लिखवाते हैं लोग कि मेरी डेथ के बाद ये लिखा जाए, वो खुद ही लिख देते हैं. खुद ही एक मैसेज देकर जा रहे हैं कि this should be written when I die. He claims that despair and depression are a big part of his existence. उनकी लाइफ में भी कोई despair, कोई depression रहा होगा. Grass always looks greener, but we never know what is going on in the life of others. However, he feels proud of his knowledge. आज तक जो knowledge उन्होंने पाई है, उस पर वो बहुत proud feel कर रहे हैं. And he calls it incomparable. I think everyone's life is incomparable, whether very much well educated, whether a celebrity, whether a common person. सबकी अपनी अपनी स्ट्रगल्स है लाइफ की, तो लाइफ को हम किसी भी और पर्सन से, इवन अपने सिबलिंग के साथ भी कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते. In addition to this, he says that no one is perfect in this world. Very true. So he asks the reader not to judge anyone in the graveyard. ग्रेवयार्ड में, कब्र में जो इंसान इस वक्त दफन है, बरीड है, उनके बारे में कोई व्यू पॉइंट मत बनाइए. दिस इज व्हाट ही इज ट्राइंग टू से टू एवरीवन. Each and every soul is different and takes rest for eternity in the graveyard. Every single soul is unique and rests in the cemetery for all time. This is the epitaph that he wrote for himself. The epitaph reads how he wishes to be remembered. कैसे चाहते हैं वो कि उन्हें याद किया जाए. It says that a humble man lies beneath the ground, which may have become well educated and famous, but only hopes to be remembered for the simple life he led. यहाँ पर एक ऐसा इंसान बरीड है, दफन है, जो कि बहुत वेल एजुकेटेड हो सकता था, लेकिन फेमस है अपनी सिंप्लिसिटी के लिए, अपनी सिंपल लाइफ के लिए. Now let us reach to the conclusion. In conclusion, the poet through the speaker ends the elegy by saying that death is an inevitable event in this world. Inevitable, जिसको टाला नहीं जा सकता. क्या दुनिया में कोई एक ऐसा इंसान है जो आप जानते हैं जो कहे कि I am never going to die? No. Also, he says that man's efforts and his struggles to succeed in life comes to an end in death. जिस दिन डेथ आती है, सारी स्ट्रगल, सारी वरी, सारे एफर्ट्स वही खत्म हो जाते हैं. Thus, death conquers men regardless of his success and of failure in his endeavors during his life. Death never says that, oh, you are very successful, I'll not come to you. आप सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहे हैं अपनी लाइफ में तो you will die. Nothing like that. Death में एक इक्वालिटी है. Thomas Gray in this poetry has managed to interweave the theme of class with the primary theme of death. Death is inevitable, he keeps on saying, and he says, no matter what class you belong to, death will occur to you. When the rich die, their death is marked by fabulous rituals, that is the only difference, and their bodies rest in the most ornate, most decorated coffins with इंट्रिकेट ग्रेव स्टोन्स. शायद बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटी के ग्रेव स्टोन्स उसमें लगे होंगे, लेकिन डेथ इज इक्वल. लिटरेचर इज very full of heroic verses praising the rich and mighty, but almost none for the poor and humble. He says कि गरीब लोगों की याद में ना तो बड़े बड़े टूमस्टोन्स होते हैं, ना डेकोरेटेड ग्रेवयार्ड्स होते हैं, लेकिन वो लोग भी मरते हैं जो कि रिच हैं, और वो लोग भी मरते हैं जो पुअर हैं. So death is something which does not spare anyone. Death is something which is equal to everyone, no matter what is the class. जो कॉमन लोग होते हैं ना, वो एनोनिमसली मर जाते हैं, पता भी नहीं चलता. No obituaries, no ads in newspapers, no fancy tombstones. Their tombstones as humble as their lives. The poet remarks that death itself is a great equalizer. It comes to all, irrespective of your status. No amount of wealth, power or flattery can prevent its certainty. बड़े बड़े राजा रहे हैं, अशोका द ग्रेट, अकबर द ग्रेट, सबकी डेथ आई है. Death is the great equalizer. The bodies of both rich and poor are subject to decay. As the poor reminds the reader, the path of glory lead but to the grave. किसी भी तरीके की ग्लोरी आपको लाइफ में मिले, कोई भी सक्सेस मिले, नो मैटर व्हाट अ फेमस सेलिब्रिटी यू आर, it will lead to grave. Everybody is moving towards grave, whomsoever is born. He comments upon society's inclination to exalt the rich and ignore the poor. लेकिन वो तब भी लोगों को ये याद दिलाना चाहते हैं कि आप रिच को हमेशा प्रेज करते हैं, अप्रिशिएट करते हैं, पुअर की डेथ को इग्नोर करते हैं. At the same time, it is important to remember that Gray is not simplistic in his appraisal. He admits that poverty has many blessings. It stands in the way of simple rural folk achieving greatness. तो ग्रेट होकर भी आपको डेथ मिलेगी, ग्रेट ना होकर भी आपको डेथ मिलेगी, और पॉवर्टी जो है वो आपकी डेथ को सिंपल बनाएगी, एज सिंपल एज पॉसिबल. मुझे बहुत ही खूबसूरत प्रोवर्ब याद आ रहा है, which very much suits here. The only thing humans are equal in is death. So with this very beautiful fact of life, I end this lecture. I hope you understood it well, and your understandings you will be able to write down in your upcoming exam. Please provide your valuable feedback in the form of your beautiful, loving comments.